Okay, so it's time now to start with the Magid itself. The Magid has a few introductions before it goes into the actual story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. The Magid starts off with a few introductions. The first introduction is lachma. Lachma has also got three parts into it, like every good thing in the Israeli army, divided into three. Okay, first of all we'll translate it and then see what are these introductions that Chazal said before you start the Magid, before you start telling the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim. You have to say these things. What are these things? What is so important that on a night that's special for telling the story of Yetziat Mitzrayim, we have to start off with these things. Let's see. First thing. lachma anya diachlu avotana be'ara de Mitzrayim. This is the bread of anya. The word anya can go in a few directions. It could have to do with something that is poor, that is lacking wealth. Or it could be from to answer, la'anot. Okay, so halachma anya diachlu avotana be'ara de Mitzrayim. So it could be a bread that there's a lot to speak about, a lot to respond to, a lot to talk about this bread. It could be a bread that's poor bread because it doesn't have any additions, nothing's changed in it. It doesn't have any extra things in it. It's just water and flour, without any yeast, without time that's going to help it to go in any direction. It could be bread that's poor bread because it's poor people. They just eat what they need and go on. There's no time for anything fancy. A few understandings in what this halachma anya is, that our fathers, our ancestors ate in Egypt. And then we say, kol dichfin yeiti v'yachol, kol ditzrich yeiti v'yfsach. Kol dichfin, anyone who's hungry should come and eat, yeiti v'yachol. Kol ditzrich, anyone who's in need should come and do Pesach with us. This has got to do with the fact that in Judaism, every time before we start anything, first of all, we take care of everyone else. If we haven't taken care, if we don't know that every single Jew has got a place to spend Leil HaSeder, has got food to eat during Leil HaSeder, maybe he's got food and doesn't have a place, that's called ditzrich, and maybe just he's lacking the food, called dichfin, someone who's hungry. We first of all take care of everyone. It's true that nowadays if you leave taking care of everyone for the beginning of Leil HaSeder and say then halachma anya, chances are very few people will be knocking on your door saying, hey, yes, that's me, I want to come in. That's why beforehand we give kimcha de pischa, we make sure to give out things, to invite people. We need to think around who's around us that doesn't have a place, needs a place to go, people that are alone in the country, people that are elderly, people that are sick, people that are just lonely for different reasons. Could be whatever it is. First of all, we take care of everyone. That's the way Am Yisrael started off. Avraham Avinu, Ish Chesed. Avraham Avinu, first of all, takes care of anyone who comes past everything. And that's why every single Chag we have, the first thing we do is give tzedakah, make sure everyone's got a place for Leil HaSeder. We can't start speaking about Am Yisrael before we start acting like Am Yisrael. And the first thing is making sure that there's chesed, a lot of chesed. Everyone's taken care of. Once we've done that, we can move on to the next stage. Next stage, still in halachma anya, is hashtahacha l'shana haba be'ara d'Israel. We are now here. The reality is that a lot of Am Yisrael are not yet in Eretz Yisrael, and also those that are in Eretz Yisrael. Eretz Yisrael, the areas of Eretz Yisrael we still need to work on. There's a lot to do there. But Am Yisrael, the same as we start off with Chesed, we start off with Eretz Yisrael. The first thing God tells Avraham Avinu, Lech lecha me'artzecha u'moladcha u'beit avicha el ha'aretz asher arecha, go to the land. And then what? Then you can become a nation. If Pesach is about becoming a nation, first there has to be a land. It is true, we became a nation outside of the land. We'll speak about that later on throughout the Haggadah. But an important thing, very important thing to understand is that Jewish life is in Eretz Yisrael. If it's not in Eretz Yisrael, it's lacking. It's not the way it should be. And you need to hope, you need to be longing to go to Eretz Yisrael. So before we start, at the end, we'll also say, L'shana haba b'Yerushalayim habnuya. But before we start, don't even start if you don't want to go to Eretz Yisrael. If you don't understand that's the way it should be. Okay, that's why. Hashtahacha, now we're still in this lacking situation. L'shana haba be'ara d'Israel. Next year in the land of Israel. And third part of halachma anya, hashta avdei l'shana haba b'nei chorin. Now we are slaves, next year we'll be free people. Now, some of us don't really feel that we're slaves now. We've broken out of it. Things have changed. We're no longer slaves. Things are, what do you mean you're calling me a slave? I'm not a slave. I'm out of being a slave. Things have changed. We're no longer slaves. Yeah, slavery could be in many ways. There's slavery where there's actually someone, you're working for someone. Someone's made you do something. And there are other forms of slavery. There's slavery in thought, when a person, he just can't think of other things. He's caught into certain ways of thought which are unnatural for him. They're not good for him. They're not positive for him. The culture is the wrong culture. He's acting in ways that are not good for him. They're not to be a ben chorin. We sometimes mistake between chirut and chofesh. Chofesh is freedom. Go do whatever you want to do. Chirut isn't freedom, because chirut has got to do with you doing what suits you, what's suitable for you, what's good for you. Okay, we'll try and touch this topic in a few other ways, just maybe the way Chazal teaches about this. The pasuk that speaks about Luchot HaBrit speaks about the writing on Luchot HaBrit. Says the michtav Elokim, the writing is God's writing, charut ala luchot, carved into the stone, carved into Luchot HaBrit. The Midrash says, Al tikri charut ele chirut. Don't say it's carved into it, say it's got chirut in it, but come on. The most unfree thing in the world is something that's carved into something. And that's exactly what we need to understand. When carved into it means that's its nature. Now the nature, and that's how it's embedded into it. Mutba in Hebrew, the word matbea, a coin, and nature, teva, have got the same shoresh. Now a coin is very unnatural, right? Someone put a stamp in it, but now the essence of this coin is what's carved into it, what's mutba into it. And your nature is something that God embedded into you. And when you act according to your nature, that's when you're ben chorin. Not when you have the option to do whatever you want to do. Because sometimes you do whatever you want to do, you're going to cause yourself a lot of damage. You won't be able to do things. Maybe to understand it slightly better, we can give them a shot. It's like in health issues. Okay, someone could say, I want to do whatever I want to do. I want to eat whatever I want to eat, whenever I want to eat. Go free. I see something that looks good, I'm going to eat it. I'm a free person. What's going to happen to him after a while? He's going to start being very unhealthy. He's going to suffer. He won't be able to do things. He won't be able to go in certain directions. He won't be able to do. He'll be out of breath. He'll be overweight. He'll have blood issues. He'll have all of this happening. In order to be free, in order to be a ben chorin, he has to eat what's good for him, and then he's able to act on all of his other abilities properly. In the same way, to be a ben chorin is to do what's suitable for you. So Ashtavdei, we still, different reasons, we're not proper ben chorin, different things are capturing us. Leshana ba ben chorin. Okay, so the first introduction was lachma. Second introduction in the Haggadah is nishtana. Nishtana, we have a question here. The question is, what is this night different from all other nights? We mention 4 criteria in which this night is different. And throughout Leila Seder, part of revealing what is the Seder of Am Yisrael, part of revealing what is so special about Am Yisrael is going to be revealing what are the answers for these 4 parts of this question. Why we're doing these things? The first one, very apparent one, very clear one, is why we're eating matzah, no chametz, no bread. What's special? What's special about the matzah? The Haggadah will speak about that directly later on. Second question, the moror, the bitterness. Why is that part of the story? Why do we have to eat it? Okay, it's another very, very crucial thing. If we want to understand what Am Yisrael is about, where we're going to, what life is all about for us, we have to understand this element of bitterness in life. Why it's there, where it's taking us, what it's about. Very important. Third element, much harder. Need to stay alert, need to see where it's coming to, where it's coming from, what it's actually speaking about. Okay, okay, why this night we obligated twice to dip food into liquids. We spoke about the first one already earlier on, the karpas. We saw that in order to reach the karpas properly, we had to do uchatz. There's something there about the purity, about reminding us about a certain level of life. Okay, later on we'll have to see what happens the second time we have to dip things in. With the karpas, that's according to most people, that's what it's speaking about. Okay, it's slightly harder. Let's see if by the end of Leila Seder you can get a good answer for that one. why this night it has to be that way. And the fourth one, again, quite a clear one, why this night we have to be mesubin, we have to be sitting like free people, like kings, like feeling freedom, and not sitting up straight, okay, it's slightly less manners maybe, but anyway, okay, part of the freedom. Okay, so we have these 4 questions. Questions, the actual having questions have got to do with 2 things. First of all, the fact that we question everything, okay? Judaism is about questioning, okay? Open up a Gemara. What does the Gemara do? There's a Mishnah, and they tear it apart. They tear it apart, every single word, every single thing. And then there's a Midrash describing the way Rabbi Akiva started learning. The Midrash describes how he first learns the Aleph Bet, then he learns the first Mishnah. And then after he's learned the actual Mishnah, he goes home, and it says, Aleph Zola Maktuva, Bet Zola Maktuva, every single letter. Why is it here? What's it doing here? What would I have said instead of it? What would I have thought otherwise? Now that they said it, what is the consequence? What does it mean? Where does it go? That's what the Gemara is all about. Question every single thing. You need to question. When do you question things? That's another thing. You ask questions when you're involved. If you meet someone, there's introduction, hello, this is Mark, this is James, okay, let's go on. Nothing happened. But when there's introduction and people start asking about each other, they get interested in each other. Questioning means we're interested in it. Sipur Yetziat Mitzrayim should be something that we're very interested. It's our essence. It's our life. It's what we're about. So we should be asking questions. In order to make sure the questions, we need to make sure something's happening. If whoever's doing the seder is able to reach the level that he feels that if he actually came out of Egypt, that he's part of it, inevitably the children will be asking questions and wanting to know what is this and what is that and what's happening all over the place. Curiosity, wanting to know, wanting to understand is part of involvement, and that's crucial over here in Yetziat Mitzrayim. We can't go into the story about Am Yisrael, about Yetziat Mitzrayim, without dealing with this aspect of the questions. We'll continue some other time.